An autocannon, 20, not worth it. What? Now, those are fighting words. Those are fighting words. You look at some of my lances. You know, we're starting up Battletech. We agreed on some battle value, and we show up to play a game, and we're pulling out our mechs. And you're like, all right, Fritz has got Irby, Duke of Death, autocannon 20. He's got an Atlas. He's got a Cyclops. He's got some Hunchbacks. My man's rocking like autocannon 20s on absolutely everything. Everything. It's no secret. If you've been following my Battletech channel, big guns never tire. Everyone's got a plan until they start taking some hits. And I love autocannon 20s. That moment I get into range, we don't even have to calculate. We don't even have to calculate the numbers to hit. It's just 12. I know it, right? There's so many movements. We're at range. We're this, we're that, need 12s. Normally, if I was firing like a large laser or some missiles, you'd be like, just take the shot. Like, I don't have to worry about anything. You're worried when I take any autocannon shot. You're like, this might be the time when Fritz starts rolling 12s. But when I close that distance and I get point blank, now you're like, my man's going to be blasting with those autocannon 20s. Plus the fact that I love tabletop glory and close combat attacks. That's why I run an all-coordinate army in another place and another time. But for Battletech, I'm going to get up there and punch you. So having autocannon 20s, I'm already pretty close. But I framework all that because, yes, I'm a little bit biased with autocannon 20s. If I take that back and step back, and much like we did with the the medium laser, exploring the medium laser for Battletech is one of the best weapons in the game, damage versus heat versus tonnage. And the ability to mount them on light mechs as a primary weapon or multiples on heavy mechs, it's got some bite. It's probably one of the best weapons in the game. We're exploring some of the different weapon systems, and I've been pushing those up to the Battletech playlist. Autocannon 20, it's not really the best weapon. Yes, it's got wow factor. You see that 20, right? First thing when you play Battletech, you're like, all right, I get the laser thing. I get the range thing. Missiles, like some of them hit, some of them miss. They attack in clusters. What's this autocannon number? Right? You're like AC2, autocannon 2. You're like 2 points? 5? 10? Yeah. 20, like immediately you're like autocannon 20. Right? Damage is important, but the offset for the autocannon 20 for the damage, there's a lot of offsets. Things have to align. One just doesn't take an autocannon 20, waltz onto the hex map, and the magic starts happening. You really need to not only set things up in terms of the mech itself and opportunities, but you really need to have coherency as a lance to make autocannon 20s work. There's a lot of what ifs, but if you pull that off, if you make that work, it's quite a sight. But you have this massive damage potential. But we're talking inner sphere tech, right? You have this massive damage potential, but the range is awful. You have to get to point blank range. You have to get to so close. On top of that, a lot of weight. So it's going to mount on heavier type mechs. Now you do have some light mechs like the Irby with the autocannon 20, but you're sacrificing other aspects of the machine. You're also extremely limited by ammo. And in a way, right, it's kind of interesting. You could counter, right? There's a difference between looking at the tech manual and what really goes on in the game. So the tech manual, you'll look and say, okay, look, autocannon 20, you've also got limited ammo. Well, you have enough of, it's like a Cyclops, let's say. You've got other weapons to utilize. And so this way you can save the autocannon 20 shots. Having less ammo, having very limited shots really isn't a drawback, right? Fritz is wrong. It's not really a drawback because the tech manual here, if I go by the book, I'm going to be firing my other weapons doing damage. And then when I'm in an optimal place, so I'm at short range, I've only walked my opponent, I've been able to catch them with minimal movement modifiers, then I will start firing the autocannon because, look, I only have one shot. Like, no, that works in the tech manual, but let me tell you how it works on the table. As soon as you're in range, you start shooting because your opponent is going to notice that. They're going to get nervous. Again, they're going to be like, is Fritz going to roll 12s? Is this going to be the time when he rolls the 12s? Like, I can't have that happen. You want to use that, do we call it psychology? Do we call it tricknology? Do we call it just now you're going to eat some potential autocannon rounds? Because yes, the spread is there, but there is a possibility to roll that. What that means is in practice, you're firing right away. They could potentially run dry, especially on the heavier machines. On top of that, your ammo vulnerability. I mean, I could almost get a somewhat similar damage output. Now, it's not going to be to one area, and I'm firing 2 shots over one. But if I look at one autocannon 20 versus 2 PPCs, and I'm not talking about King Crab. King Crab mounts 2, but just like that Cyclops versus, say, a Marauder or Warhammer with 2 PPCs, you're now kind of looking and saying, okay, from that perspective, 2 PPCs are more reliable, and I'm still putting out 20 potential points. And I don't have the drawback of ammo. That ammo's in there. It could cook off. It could explode. Crazy things could happen. There are a lot of drawbacks to the autocannon 20, and it's not as reliable as kind of large lasers and other things. But in exploring that and that perspective, how do you utilize it in the game?